You are listening to a One Pint Stand, a Minnesota craft beer podcast that tells the stories of craft beer in Minnesota and beyond. So kick back, relax, and grab a cold one. The show starts now. Hello, my name is Dan Bobian, and I write, produce, and host a One Pint Stand. I'm ecstatic that you're listening. This episode of a One Pint Stand is proudly sponsored by Dual Citizen Brewing Company, a community-focused brew house that proudly serves both sides of the river, dcbc.com. On this episode, I interview Eric Schmidt, one of the founders of Insight Brewing. Eric and I have known each other for over 10 years because I became a Passport supporter, a Passport member of Insight before they even opened. Now, in 2024, we sit down to chat about their upcoming 10th anniversary party. Now, I'm sure if you've been to their parties before, the Trip Around the Sun event is always a good time. Eric waxes poetic about the years between then and now, and it's a fun trip down memory road. Insight has evolved in many ways, and it's fun to see how they are giving a nod to their beginnings with their 10th anniversary party on Saturday, November 2nd. So let's head out to Insight Brewing's patio for my beer chat with Eric Schmidt. Cheers. Welcome to another on-location episode of a One Pint Stand. My name is Dan Bobian, and today I am sitting down with one of the founders of Insight Brewing Company, Eric Schmidt. Eric, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
We're outside.
Oh, my gosh.
In October.
I know. This late into October. Oh, my gosh.
And this
fantastic.
This is just absolutely wonderful. And when did this... Now, I know you've had different stages of the outdoor beer area, but this is very fancy.
Oh, well, thank you.
This is very nice. It's a nice, corrugated metal. There's some nice cover from the sun for all you Norwegians who burn when somebody takes a flash photograph. And it's a really nice area to hang out. When I'm here, I like to be out here. Mm-hmm. And so when you said maybe we should podcast outside, I said, yes, we should.
Well, when the weather's like this, you'd be outside.
I mean, who knows? Next week, we could be buried under snow.
That's right.
I was thinking to myself this morning as I was driving into work that it was probably around this time, 10 years ago, when Insight Brewing had an open house. Mm-hmm. And a bunch of people came in. There were the core beers to try. You opened with 5 core beers.
Right.
And it was very clearly still under construction kind of a mode.
Oh, yeah.
But it was like kind of hey, we're doing this thing. Come check it out. At that point in Minnesota, craft beer was going, but it was not going as fast, and it wasn't as developed as it is now. And I just remember trying several of the beers, and the beers that caught my eye were Sunken City, Lambton Dragon, and the Devil's Companion. So the Devil's Companion was the porter. Right. Lambton Dragon was kind of like an English-style ale along the lines of a bitter. Yep. Low ABV, nice malt flavor. And the Sunken City was the Saison brewed with Sauvignon Blanc grapes. Mm-hmm. And those 3, I was like, oh, this is interesting. And my friend who lives like across the street, within walking distance, he's like, hey, did you see that deal that they're doing? And I was like, yeah, I did. He's like, well, my wife and I are in. Are you in? I'm like, yeah, let's get a 4th. Mm-hmm. So it was this crazy thing where if you could get 4 people together to contribute $250, each person would get a $1,000 tab. Mm-hmm. And I'm proud to say there's still money on that card. I used it a week ago here, but I think if I come here on the anniversary party and really have my way with that Lambton Dragon, we can get that that number down to 0. And here we are in 2024, and you're on the precipice of celebrating 10 years. The 10-year birthday party is happening Saturday, November 2nd.
Yes, it is. Double digits.
Double digits, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we're gonna have that puberty talk later on in the show.
Oh,
and
boy. We'll take that one offline.
That'll be right, exactly. I did bring some visuals, so but I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. I think it was the Kismet. We ran into each other about 2 weeks ago at the Waldman Oktoberfest, and I was like, "Hey, I'd love to come in and do a podcast," and you were like, "Well, how about sooner than later? Because we've got this party coming up." And I was like, yes, let's do it. So we're here. Take me back. Before you even opened the doors, before you served your first beer to a customer, why craft beer?
Yeah, so when we started Insight Brewing, there were 4 of us that are the co-founders that started the whole thing. And all 4 of us came from different paths, for sure. My story was very similar to one of my other partners, which was very much corporate America, climbing that ladder, working for, large companies. And another one of us had a pretty successful career in sales. And then there was the guy that traveled the world and learned a lot about brewing beer. So all of us, we had a brewer, we had a sales guy, we had a marketing guy, and then there was me, which was kind of like the sort of finance, mostly operations, logistics. That's kind of what I did in my corporate America days. And I think for the 3 of us who weren't already kind of involved in beer, I think all of us were home brewers.
Okay.
Which was the classic story of how a lot of us got started back then. And I think what we all shared, the 3 of us who weren't already in beer, I think what we all shared was number one, wanted to be entrepreneurs. And I think what drew us into beer was, at that time, home brewing was huge.
Yeah.
And there was just such a great community and culture around it. But then the breweries that had already opened, kind of the early pioneers.
Yeah.
Obviously Summit had been around. They had blazed the trail for sure. But Surly was open. Fulton was open. And I got to shout out Town Hall. Town Hall is one of my absolute faves.
Yes.
Obviously, they've been around since the early 90s as well. But as these places started to open, Surly, Fulton, Indeed was open as well. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. But
Dangerous Man,
yes,
Harriet.
exactly. Oh, Harriet, that's right.
Harriet is everybody's got a connection to Harriet.
It is. It's kind of like the family tree.
Yep.
You're never more than like 2 degrees separation from Harriet. Right. I think those guys had kind of started to get into the game, and you started to go to their tap rooms and just kind of see what was going on. And what you learned was, wow, number one, this city is begging for quality beer. Because of the Northern Brewer being headquartered here, people were into the homebrew scene, and because of that culture and community, I think there was definitely a thirst, pun absolutely intended.
That's right.
For quality beer. And so you start to get kind of caught up in it, and then if you're a home brewer, you're already interested in the beer stuff.
Yeah.
And so you're like, wow, well, if I want to be an entrepreneur, not only can I kind of get into this thing that I'm already interested in, which is the brewing scene, but just that culture and community. It's very sort of homegrown.
Yeah.
And that's what I really like, because I went from giant corporation to the exact opposite.
Right.
And I think that, and I think that's what drew the other 2 of us that had jobs like that. Alon, who was the brewer and had been doing a lot of studying around beer, he was already kind of in it.
Yeah.
He had been doing some work for Northern Brewer. But the other 3 of us, I think that's really what drew us in, was that there really was a groundswell community around this thing.
Yeah. Well, and that was, there were Minnesota until the quote-unquote Surly bill was really behind a lot of some of the other beer destinations in the country. I'm thinking Portland, San Diego, Denver, Burlington. All those places, you would go there, Michigan. You'd go there, and they had such a vivacious craft beer scene. Yeah. And it's like, then you're here, it's like, people can't sell a pint.
Where is it at, man?
That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so, that time was really the craft beer explosion. And I think about where we're sitting. For those of you listening who have not been to Insight Brewing, it's on East Hennepin, kind of right as you get into the heart of Northeast. I joke, I say to people, you can come swing a dead cat and hit 5 breweries if you're in the right spot in Northeast Minneapolis. But there's such a great culture and level of
quality where like people come to visit, they're like, where should I go? I say, go to Northeast. You can probably knock out 5 or 6 easy on a Saturday and not be spending too much time in an Uber.
Yeah,
like just like
sure.
boom, 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 boom. And so the fact that you are here at this space. Now, the other thing I was thinking about, what did this building used to be?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, like, was there something there before? You know how you can drive by something like seemingly 1,000 times, and then all of a sudden something pops up there that you wind up going to. It's like, has this place been here the whole time, or was it just a dream? What did it used to be, or did you build the building?
No, we definitely did not. So this building has been around since the 30s. I believe it's the 30s. It was originally built as like a big boiler manufacturer.
Okay.
So really heavy manufacturing, which is really cool. You can see remnants of really heavy manufacturing there. There were train tracks that were coming through the building.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yep.
That must have been like some sort of drop off of materials, raw materials. Obviously, you can imagine the size and scope of things that were coming in for a boiler manufacturer.
Yeah.
So there were rails that were coming through the building. And there's really heavy duty I-beams going throughout the building, cranes and stuff that we had to get in, move or take out completely because they were just in the way of tanks. But
Sure.
But the building actually sat vacant for 7 years before we moved in.
Okay.
The tenant before us was, I think it was Warren Shade Company. I think they made blinds and curtains and stuff like that. So still some manufacturing, so there'd be no reason to know that anybody was here.
Right.
It was very industrial,
Okay.
very manufacturing heavy. But yeah, it sat vacant for 7 years, and we came and looked at this place, and there's basically 3 distinct bays, and the one in the middle is really, really high ceilings.
Okay.
We're like, well, this is perfect for big tanks.
Yeah. And I was trying to remember. I mean, I know that you've grown. So barrel wise, what are you up to now? What's your yearly barrel output?
So it's obviously ebbed and flowed quite a bit.
Yeah.
COVID did a number on the production capacity. Well, what we actually produced. We're probably going to do somewhere around, if you add in the THC, which is definitely something that has to be considered because this thing is just blowing up, right?
Yeah.
We'll probably do, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 6,000 or 7,000 barrels.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly where we're at. At our peak, when the craft beer thing was really booming, I think we peaked at just over 8,000 barrels. The capacity of the brewery is more like 15 to 18 or so.
Yeah.
Something like that. There's obviously things you can do to speed it up, or, depending on what you invest in. So somewhere in that 15 to 18,000 barrels. So we definitely still have, that was the idea, give us plenty of room to grow.
Yeah. Well, it's just such a nice location, and I'm sure, as you were looking at spots, I mean, you had to have at least some inkling. I'm like, okay, there's a little bit of an energy happening. I feel like this would be. Were there other locations in the city that you were looking at?
There were. Basically, the reason we landed on this place is because it had everything we wanted for who we wanted to be, which was we wanted to be big, fast.
Yeah.
That it was clearly the intention to be like, all right, this craft beer thing is definitely picking up steam.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, if we can just find a warehousey space where the rent isn't as bad as like a retail location, what it does is it gives you the ability to pay for a lot of space before you need it all. Because the rent is much lower, right?
Yep.
So it had really tall ceilings in a really big production area, what we would turn into the production area. But it also had 2 other areas, one which easily became the tap room, which in itself has tall ceilings, but not nearly as tall as the production area. And then another bay, if you want to call it, on the other side, plenty of storage.
Yeah.
So it checked all the boxes. Also having a parking lot is huge.
Right.
We have a nice.
You have no idea. I'm
parking lot.
45 years old now. It's like that will determine whether I show up or whether I don't. Like, is there parking?
Yeah.
Am I going to have to, like, especially in winter, is my car going to get towed? What's going to happen? But yeah.
Yeah. So the other places that we looked at, it was kind of like nothing had everything.
Yeah.
So yes, there were better locations in terms of foot traffic,
Sure,
or better retail locations. But at the time, some of these places that, look at Surly, where they started out.
Right.
not exactly a super retail centric place, right? And so there was a taste for it. So we thought, oh, we can easily turn this into a place that people will come to, even though it's very industrial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As all companies and all breweries do, there are changes along the way. Probably one of the more noteworthy things was after a handful of years, Insight underwent a major rebrand.
Sure.
And I don't know, maybe some people listening know the story. I think I know bits and pieces of the story, but do you want to talk about that just because it's kind of such a unique thing? And I love the new logo so much better than the original one.
Yeah, so this is a pretty interesting story. This was a simple case of when you're starting a small business and you don't have millions and millions of dollars of runway, eventually you just have to open, whether you're fully ready or not.
Right.
And so we had been approached before we opened by an ad agency in Minneapolis that had read about there's this brewery in planning and they're going to be opening up sometime in the winter of 2014. They approached us and said, hey, we really like what you're doing. We do a lot of work with large companies. I think they did some stuff for Target and some other big companies like that. And they said, you're kind of the fun project that we can have. Could we, if we had a fairly decent amount of creative control, not entirely, but a decent amount of creative control, could we do this for you basically pro bono? And we said, well, the one thing we have very little of is a ton of cash at the moment because we had just filled a brewery with a bunch of stainless steel tanks and all that stuff. So we said, well, yeah, I mean, obviously we need to protect our brand, but yes. So we were the move to the barrel balloon that we have now, that was actually in the works before we opened.
Okay.
But it was just, we wanted to get it right and it wasn't ready. We had to get open, right?
Yeah.
So we had to go with the original logo, which was
it was that weird kind of a quarter moon weird shape.
Yeah, it was like a crescent moon right through the middle of the word insight with some like a sun bursting out. So it was like, that sort of insightful kind of look to it. And that was the original logo and we were fully planning on going with that. But then we got approached by the ad agency, but we're like, well, let's take our time and get it right. And by the time we were fully ready to go, it was about June 2015, about 6 months after we opened.
Okay, so it wasn't that far. Yeah. Okay.
It is a little awkward and a little odd to do it that way, but we thought, you know what? This is where we're at. Small businesses,
especially for those people that got face tattoos of the original logo. That was,
I know. I do see that you had that removed, which is good.
That was painful.
Yeah, right. But I do have one thing to add to that.
Yeah.
So then, what was it? Probably about 3 years ago now. We maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we did a brand refresh where we partnered with a local artist, and it was very paint based,
almost like a watercolor.
Yeah. It was very canvas painting based, and we found a way to turn that into beer labels. And so the idea was, well, maybe this is something that we can do and just sort of partner with local artists on a rotating basis and maybe get this to be like a core part of our brand, right?
Yeah.
We're a local brewery, small. Let's partner with local artists.
Yeah.
Well, then we made a change and we started working with a guy named Brad Randall. And this guy's got a long history of graphic design. He started doing the stuff we're doing now. We absolutely fell in love with this stuff.
Okay.
And once we found Brad and we started seeing what he was capable of, we're like, this is the brand.
Yeah.
And we kind of stopped there, and he's been doing our stuff now for the last, 2 years or so, and we're loving every minute of it.
Well, I remember, the thing with the rebrand was, we craft legends, and each beer was kind of like a character, and the logos were kind of cartoonish, kind of interesting. And then when you switched over a couple of years ago, I remember seeing the can art for Trollway, and I was like, oh wow. Yeah. That almost looks like it's out of some type of fantasy artwork book. Mm-hmm. And just how really whimsical and really different yet complex the art was. It's just kind of fun. And breweries do that a lot because people's tastes change. And we know that visually speaking, if you want your cans to stand out, they need to look a certain way. It's that fine balance of not overly complicated, but not too simple.
Correct.
And I feel like your current cans really deliver a very unique thing, and I have to imagine it's eye-catching for people who are browsing the liquor stores and when they're here looking for beer to go. Some of those labels just really jump out at you.
It has really, really caught on. Brad's just got a great eye for this stuff. He's such a creative guy, and he gets what craft beer is all about, where especially for us small guys, you get a little weird, right? Get a little weird sometimes, but it's like it's sort of, what do I want to say? It's not over the top weird. It's like taking things. Basically, our aesthetic is take things that everybody knows in real life and put a whimsical spin on it. Our latest limited release was Hop Wheels, a play on Hot Wheels, right?
Yeah.
So the cover, we have Dodge ProMaster vans, which is what we use to deliver our beers around the cities. And so he made this cool label where it's a Hot Wheels box like you'd find on the shelf, but in the little bubble wrap where you'd find the Hot Wheels, it's a little Dodge ProMaster van.
I love
it's
that.
Great.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in addition to like the cans art kind of changing and evolving, it's not the same group of co-owners as it is now. Who still remains from the original 4?
Yeah, so of the 4 of us, there's 2 of us that remain.
Okay.
It was me and the guy that, Kevin Hilliard is his name. He was the guy that came to us originally to do sales, and he's still doing, he came back to do sales, but now we're all doing a little bit of everything now.
Okay.
It's just sort of evolved that way. And then Neil is our other third partner. We're basically the 3 owner-operators.
Okay.
Neil actually did finance and accounting for us from the very beginning.
Okay.
And just stuck with us. And eventually it just sort of happened. I'd have to really think about how it all transpired because he wasn't an owner of the company.
Sure.
And all of a sudden, here he is, and now it's the 3 of us running it. So.
Yeah. Well, that's cool that you have those good working relationships that, because I have to imagine that's hard. I mean, people listening know this if you've been to any job for any amount of time. Like sometimes it's like you just want something different, and people move around, and even not at the ownership level, but in craft beer, there's a lot of moving around. As the brewers tend to kind of move around, tap room managers move around, all sorts of. There's a lot of fluidity in this industry, but it's kind of fun that you have been with it the whole time, and now here we are, 10 years later. Now you brew a lot of beer, and I feel like it's. Like you said, you wanted to open and you wanted to get big as fast as you can. So clearly a production brewery.
Correct.
One of the things I think sometimes a production brewery, their tap room is almost an afterthought. I think Summit comes to mind, although in recent years they've made more of an emphasis to try to promote the fact that they have a really nice Ratskeller for people to come in and drink beer. But the tap room has come a long way from that open house.
Where there were no lights.
But like for somebody who hasn't been here, how do you describe the identity of your tap room, and who's the main demographic of who's coming through the doors and ordering a pints? Who are your regulars?
So we don't have a target demographic. Our target demographic is anybody who enjoys really, really well-made craft beverages. And I say beverages because we're doing NA stuff now. We do hop water. We do the THC. Obviously, beer. We'll never stray away from that. But it's
Thank
really...
the Lord for that.
I know, right? Cheers. So we don't have a target demographic. That's probably a really bad thing. Like the marketing professors that I had in college would probably cringe to hear me say like, you have to have a target demographic.
Right.
But really anybody everybody is welcome here.
Yeah.
And it always has been from the very start. I would say our regulars are, we do have a number of people in the neighborhood. We're right next to the kind of the Como neighborhood here.
Yeah.
We do have a number of regulars that are either in Como neighborhood or very close. Falcon Heights, Lauderdale, kind of in that area, kind of pretty close. They kind of come see us a lot. All ages. We pride ourselves on being family friendly. So particularly on the weekends, you will see kids. We're dog friendly. So dogs are welcome on the patio and inside.
Yeah.
So really what we try to do with our tap room is it's a fairly spacious place. I mean, we're not Surly Brewing.
Yeah.
But I guess no one is. But yeah, it's not to that scale. But for what we have, we didn't the space that we do have, we didn't just cram it full of furniture.
Yeah.
We said, let this thing breathe a little bit. Give people a little room to relax. We just want a very, very relaxed, very chill atmosphere. Everyone's welcome. We have board games.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it can be, especially when people are bringing dogs, if you're stacked right on top of each other.
Right?
Like sometimes you look at those dogs and they're like miserable. I'm like, they've been stepped on. They've like, give it, like you say, give it a room to breathe.
Yeah.
That's really something cool. And I love that, this is westward facing in the evening. So if you're here, if you're into photography, you can get some really cool pictures of the sun kind of coming through the windows and hits the pint glass just right. But this is such a nice place. I mean, I still can't get over the fact that it's so nice out here in the evening in Minnesota in October. But the outdoor beer garden is a fantastic addition, and that's new probably since COVID. Was that or like a little before?
This is year 3.
Okay. Oh yeah. So after post-COVID.
Yep. 2022 was year 1 of this version of the patio. We've always had a patio.
Yeah.
Year 1 was extremely Spartan. We're talking.
I remember just a couple of tables.
Oh God, we're talking warped picnic tables bought from Menards. Like it's like the DIY, put it together yourself. Yeah, and it's slowly evolved. And what we did with this version of the patio was we're like, all right, what we're missing is outdoor bar. We have plenty of space out here. We have a cooler right on the other side of the wall.
That's right. Yeah,
side here that we're able to go direct tap through the wall. So we decided to build this new version of the patio around a full outdoor bar.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, lots of cool areas to sit, very family friendly, and like people are always looking for places to go with their, furry children.
Yeah. Right.
Doggos. Has anybody ever brought in a cat?
Yeah, actually. Oh man. So we've had a lot of different stuff.
What's the weirdest animal you've ever seen?
Birds.
Oh my God.
It really well behaved, but there's been a couple of times, there was a guy who used to come here fairly regularly that would have, I don't know birds at all, but it looked like some sort of tropical looking bird, right? That just sat on his shoulder and he walked around with this bird on his shoulder. I'm like, well, that's technically a pet and it's here. Mostly dogs. There have been a cat or two every once in a while, but that bird was the weirdest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool,
tropical bird in a brewery. That's interesting.
Right?
I've seen brewery cats, dogs, never a bird. I'll have to
there you go. Put a
keep
bird
my
on
eye out for that. You never know what you're going to find here at Insight Brewing.
Yeah.
Now, one of the coolest things I think about this place, and every place has their kind of local, their go-to, and with locals, you also get your favorite staff members who stick around a long time. I mean, you're going to celebrate 10 years. I was curious about who is your longest tenured staff member outside of ownership at Insight Brewing?
Yeah. Okay. So
my guess was wrong in my head. I had a prediction.
Well, it's been 10 years. It's easy to lose track of.
That's right. I can't remember where I left my pants this morning.
Yeah.
So
well, there you go.
That's trouble.
10 years and a lot of beers, right?
Yes, right. That's right.
All right. So I had to think pretty hard on this. You had asked me about this before this podcast, and I thought, gosh, dude, who is it? And so we opened in November of 2014.
Yep.
And in April of 2015, so we're talking 5 months.
Yeah.
5 and change. We hired a guy named Calvin Newton.
Yes.
And Calvin is still with us today. He's been behind the bar. Actually, when he first came to us, he helped us out in the production area. I can't even remember what he was doing, but very quickly he found himself behind the bar, and he's been behind the bar ever since.
Just a fixture.
He's a fixture. And actually, one of the awesome things about what he brought to the table was he had spent some time at Harriet, so he knew the scene.
Sure.
He knew these customers.
Yep.
And it became very clear that this guy probably belongs behind the bar. And yeah, man, chances are if you've been to Insight more than 2 or 3 times, you've probably run into Calvin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, all the time. Either he's here or AJ's here or Jose's here.
Yeah, right.
Those are kind of like the 3. I was like, it's got to be one of those three, just because I can't think of Insight without thinking about them, and I think that that's really cool when a place has people that it's like, oh, this person's working tonight, I'm gonna go. Maybe you don't have friends who are available, but you're gonna come sit at the bar, maybe watch the game, and chit chat with somebody who's always here, and that's so special.
Yeah, AJ, you brought up AJ. AJ's actually, I think, number 2. I think he's the second longest tenured guy
He was
here.
who I thought was going to be the longest one.
Yeah. He doesn't bartend anymore. He actually does sales for us now. He's out visiting bars and restaurants.
Yeah.
And then I think you said Jose, right?
Yeah.
Jose's he might be number 3. Actually, Joey might be. If you've been here on a Monday and done Binjo with JoJo, you know Joey.
Oh yeah.
He's still around. I guess to speak to that real quick. COVID, coming out of COVID, we suddenly became very, very, very sticky. You naturally have turnover, right? People find, they've got another career path or whatever it is. Maybe they were here part-time and they go on to bigger and better things in their career. But since COVID, and this is pretty much, I would say, across the board, production, sales, all that stuff, we became very, very, very sticky. I think COVID, there's something about that experience where if we did the best we could to handle that the right way, and I feel pretty proud about the fact that I think we must have done something right.
Yeah.
Because coming out of there, it's just nobody leaves. And if they do leave, like I said, it's because, they had a dream. We had a bartender here, Elena. She wanted to be a copywriter. She got a great job as a copywriter, and there she went. She still comes back. We see her all the time around here. So, very sticky. Which is great for customers because you're going to see the same people.
Well, yeah, and it just becomes part of the craft beer experience. I think a lot of people go out to craft breweries, obviously, because they want to try a beer, but a beer that's just not mass-produced on the level of like a Budweiser or something like that. They want to know that, it was brewed by somebody like behind the bar, behind a wall, probably local employees. Probably the ingredients didn't come from too far, unless you got some specialty malts from Wireman or something like that. But there's that cool kind of a feel where this is very local, and I think that extends to brewery staff. You want to come in and chat with your favorite bartender. We all have our favorite bartenders. I remember when I used to go to Northgate, I would always hope that Tom would be there.
Yeah.
And now he's at Uda Pills, and it's just kind of fun to kind of like follow your favorite people around, and but that's part of it. That's part of it. It's that community, that sense of like you said, all are welcome here. You need people like that to kind of extend that message to people coming in, and I think that's for almost 10 years you all have done that very well.
For sure,
and that's very special. So. You've also, in addition to some great taproom staff, you've also had a lot of talented brewers. Now, Sean Carnahan is the head brewer currently, and he had some great commercial experience. I believe he brewed at Fair State and Black Stack previous to brewing here. What has he brought to Insight? I know that every time there's a changing of the guard in the brew house. You're sad to see somebody go, but you're excited to see somebody new come in and bring. They have a different set of tools in their toolbox. What has Sean brought to Insight?
A lot, really, really, really a lot. I can't emphasize that enough. So the 3, we talked about ownership and the ownership team, and that's me and Neil and Kevin. None of us are professional brewers. I mean, we're just not. I mean, we were all home brewers. We were into the scene. Of craft beer, but that's a lot different than actually being a brewer and having a true vision for what you want to do with a beer program. And I think more than anything, that's what Sean brought to us from the very beginning. That's probably the biggest reason we hired him. His resume speaks for itself, the places he's been at. But what Sean brought was he came in when we interviewed him. He came in and said, I've got a vision, a long-term vision for a program, a beer program. Who are we going to be? Because at the time, we had gone through some periods where craft beer got very big, very fast, very hypey. A lot of people chasing some trends, which we definitely did that as well.
Yeah.
It's hard to resist because we are creative people, right?
Yeah.
So it's not, chasing trends is not a bad thing. It
No.
absolutely is not. But eventually you find yourself like, well, now wait a second. Who are you? And as long as you can stick to who you are. And so Sean came in, he said, what I want to do at a brewery, if I'm the head brewer, I've got a vision for the program. And we said, well, what's your vision? And when he said, I want more than anything for the tap room, I want a balanced tap list all the time.
Yeah.
At all times, we need a dark beer, a sour beer, an IPA, light beer, all this stuff. And we hadn't really thought of the world that way, of beer that way, which is kind of funny because that seems very obvious.
Yeah.
But it isn't when you're caught up in the
No, but
the
at that
rapid
time,
changes
I
of the
mean, there
industry.
was the kind of zeitgeist of New England / hazy IPAs. And then there
Yeah,
were
right.
the fruited sours. And then there were pastry
yeah.
stouts. I mean, that was kind of like the triforce of trendy styles that
Right.
everybody was trying to get into. And what nobody tells you in brewing school is like hazy IPA in its like, you know, genesis was a mistake.
Yeah, wait, it's supposed to look like that?
And it's like to recreate that really delicious, addictive, amazing mistake that Alchemist did, you need to know a hell of a lot about science.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so you've got all these breweries trying to brew these hazy IPAs, and there's not one way to do it. I can see where like it was easy to lose a little bit of the focus or kind of be distracted. You know, you see the shiny new toy, and everybody's like, oh, well, hey. I mean, I always tell people, the first time I went to Drecker up in Fargo, they had probably 12 beers on tap, and it was like, you know, your classic homebrew styles, like an amber ale, a brown ale, a pale ale, an IPA, a porter, a stout. They were all good.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
And then the next time I went up there, it was like
Yeah.
5 fruited sours that you can't see
Right.
through. I'm like, what is
What happened?
happening in the world right now? And so
Right.
I totally understand how like trends come and go, and you never know. I mean, you don't want to be behind the trend because then
Right.
you miss out.
Right.
You want to be on the front part of it. But yeah, I mean, having a balanced tap list is really important, I think. And I'm happy that the pendulum is kind of swung back to that.
It definitely has. I will admit, right now, the tap list isn't as diverse as it usually is. That's because of the rapid growth of the THC. It's taken up taken up quite a bit of our production capacity. However, there's a sour beer in the tank right now in our small batch system.
Yeah.
There's a dark beer in the tanks right now. They're coming back.
Yeah.
Right now they're not there, but they will be. They will be back. But yeah, in addition to just like really, really brilliant brewing talent.
Yeah.
Which we knew Sean had. We knew about Sean.
Yeah.
His pedigree and his resume was just so impressive.
Well, I think
But
didn't he also brewed at Town Hall maybe?
yeah,
too?
I was gonna mention that. Yeah, he also did come from town. So this guy's seen
Anybody
a
who
lot
spends
of
any
great
time
breweries.
at Town Hall, I think
Yeah.
they pick up a lot of great information.
Absolutely.
That's,
Those guys are OG.
Yeah.
Those guys
Yeah.
are OG. And speaking of Town Hall, they obviously do a number of good lagers. This is another huge thing that Sean Carnahan brought to Inside Brewing. We weren't really in the lager game, not because
Yeah.
we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's just not something that we put a lot of time into.
Right.
Probably because the IPA thing was blowing up, and you get caught up in chasing that. Sean Carnahan has officially brought lagers to Inside Brewing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been a wonderful, wonderful thing to see
yeah.
and taste.
Yes, I mean, and I think, for a while, Minnesota as a craft beer land, the craft beer landscape in Minnesota is still fairly young. There's other places in the country who've been doing this for 35, almost 40 years. And when you think about the craft beer mindset of like, okay, if I'm going to pay, at the time, $6 for a pint, there's this weird, and maybe this is a Midwest thing, but it's like, well, if I'm paying $6, I want to get my money's worth of alcohol.
Yeah, $6.
And I mean, I need a 7% beer. And
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, okay, don't get me wrong. I love 7% beer, Also love 4.5% beer. Because 4.5% beer, I can have several of those and still, function relatively normally the next day. That's, I think, the thing was people would like, well, why would I pay $6 for essentially a Bud Light?
Taste it.
And it's like,
That's what I'd say.
you don't understand.
Taste it.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, it's people like Town Hall and Arbiter and Bad Weather who have really, Uda Pills, who have really kind of like laid the groundwork for people to kind of understand and finally wrap their brains around, it's a good idea to pay $6, $7 for a lager because from a flavor standpoint, that beer is going to deliver in a really exciting way. And, let's move away from like, why are we thinking about how much alcohol is in our beer as being like a selling point? Let's go for flavor. Let's go for nuance. Let's go for texture. Those are all very fun things. And I met a brewer out in Denver, one of the co-owners of Novel Strand. All of their beers are probably below 5.5%. He's like, I want people to come here and get drunk on accident. Because like that means you were here for a while, you were having great conversations, hanging out with friends. Obviously want you to get home safe. But like if you come in like, all right, what beer is 7.5%? Like that's you're not approaching it the right way.
Yeah, the mindset has definitely shifted. I'm really happy about it. I mean, if you survey 100 brewers, people in the brewing industry, particularly production, people in breweries, and you say, "What's your favorite style to drink?" 99 of those are probably going to say lager.
Yeah.
They are. Yeah. It's just it's what we drink. If you're in the industry, you can get burned out pretty darn quick.
Oh yeah.
But the one thing you just don't burn out on is a good lager.
Clean and crisp lager that makes you want to keep drinking more. It's beer flavored beer. It's
beer flavored beer.
Yeah.
And thank God Sean Carnahan brought a lager game to Inside Brewing.
Yeah, I feel like that was the one thing that, like you said earlier, that wasn't there.
Yeah, it was missing.
It was like, oh, they do this beer well, they do this beer well, they do this, but it's like they just don't have that, and not every brewery does, because if you understand lagers, they take more time, they take up a tank, and if you're trying to turn beer and get, it's a business after all, so you want to be able to be as efficient with your sales as possible. Well, if you're going to do half of your production is going to be lagers, that changes things on the bottom line. But yeah, I've been excited. It took me like a while. There was like that little stint, and I don't even know what particular year, where it seemed like, I'd been coming here obviously since the beginning, and you come to when you're kind of a regular at a place, you come to understand what the bar is. And I felt like Insight set the bar very high from a quality and consistency standpoint. And there was this weird kind of like weird little spell where that wasn't the case.
Right.
And it's not a problem that is only, private to you. There's a lot of breweries that go through these kind of growing pains, I like to call them.
You bet.
And when I realized that you came out of it, and I don't know if these things are related, but I started to see I started hearing more things like, hey, have you been to Insight lately? They've got lagers now. And I'm like, really? Okay. All right. I'll check that out. And then you had I guess it's advertised as a kind of like a West Coast Pils, Avant. And it won gold medal at the GABF.
Yes, it did.
Which is a very big deal.
It is, yeah.
In any style, but anybody who knows anything about beer competitions and brewing, it's like if you submit a lager, there's very little room for error. You need to stick the landing on that one.
Nowhere to hide.
And when I heard that, I was like, well, holy shit, that is amazing, and I want to try this beer. Yeah. And then that kind of like reeled me back I mean, it had kind of, Insight had a little bit fallen out of the rotation because also there are so many places to go now.
Right.
But that was kind of like, I don't know if that was related. That must have been related to Sean coming on board, but really, like, bringing it. And now, I mean, there's always I always look for, there's a Mexican lager right on right now that's delicious.
You bet.
The Vienna lager is good. There was, and you've done some collabs. The collab with Arbeiter, the Alla Nostra.
Alla Nostra, yeah.
Italian Pilsner is just absolutely wonderful. So, like, now that is like another puzzle piece that's in there. And now the whole picture looks really, really good.
It does.
What was that like? I mean, you had to be aware that, like, things had maybe kind of, the train had kind of jostled off the tracks a little bit.
Yeah, you know what? I guess if I were to come up with some sort of loose analogy, I guess it would be, when you graduate high school, if you go on to college, you graduate college, if you don't go on to college, you get that early 20s period of your life where you're like, who am I going to be? And it's sort of like, you got to kind of find yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think while opening up in late 2014, very much in the early stages of the big boom. I mean, there was definitely a big boom. This industry was just a rocket ship. We're very fortunate to have caught that wave on the early side. But what happens is, on the ride up, you get caught up in a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
You start, now all of a sudden, you've got to worry about keeping things in stock and staying on trend, and now you're working with distributors, and it starts to become a lot really fast. And then not only was the industry itself growing in terms of beer drinkers, the breweries started opening up. You get a little freaked out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sort of like, what are we gonna? You're a business owner now. You've got employees that rely on you to generate revenue and get these people, paychecks and all that stuff. So you can't just willy-nilly go after and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to follow the dream and brew nothing but English special bitter beer. You just can't do that.
What a world that would be. Huh?
I know, right? So you have to worry about things like marketing. And what happens is, when you're really at that rocket ship, you can get lost a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened to us. You get lost a little bit, and then eventually you get to a point where you sort of look back and you say, whoa. I think we kind of lost our way. Who are we going to be? That's when we met Sean Carnahan. And I think Sean helped ground us a little bit because Sean had been to our brewery plenty of times.
Sure. And
he said, I remember the Insight Brewing of a few years ago. And he said, it seems like things are a little bit different around here. And that's where like I said, he brought that vision.
Yeah.
Hands down, that's what I think was the difference maker.
Yeah.
So that's what I think. That's, like I said, the loose analogy of finding yourself. I think we just had to find ourselves, right?
I mean, every great band or musician always has that one album where it's like, what the hell were they thinking? Or like,
you start getting
a
creative
food company, the hell did they change the Coke recipe? Somebody needs to be slapped over there, So it's just, the ebbs and flows, that growing pain. And, well, I mean, here we are. I'm going to be drinking my last little sip here of Avant, and we'll take a break. But I think I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And if you have good people who are, like you say, willing to have that conversation and just press pause and be like, oh, okay, wait.
Yeah.
Remember why we started this?
That's
and
right.
Where we're going, I don't know if those directions are aligned. We need to take stock and figure out, okay, is this the right move? And sometimes it takes somebody coming in from the outside, because if you were so close to it,
you get really close to it. You get so caught up in it.
And I think it's difficult. Yeah, as you're in that mode, breweries are popping up everywhere. And there is a lot of competition, and there's trends happening that, like, do we jump on this train? Do we jump on this train? When you started, you had 5 very distinctly unique beer styles that appealed to a wide breadth of people.
For sure.
And it's like, do you stay the course? And you're watching Brewery B over here just solely producing this one style of beer, and the perception is that they're printing money. Well, maybe we want to try that. So I think it's very courageous to sit there and, okay, is this what we want? And then also like swallow your pride and be like, no, it's not. We gotta change. We gotta pivot.
Yeah, this thing has kind of gotten away from us a little bit.
And that's probably why we're sitting here, having this conversation about celebrating 10 years is that I think that the breweries that lose their way, I think it's really hard to kind of bring it back. The further you get down that road,
you really need that catalyst.
Yeah.
And by some stroke of luck, we crossed paths with Sean at just the right time when we needed it.
Right.
And as I look back, I admire the places that have the longevity that never really experienced that. I do admire that, but I also think it's fairly normal to go through a period where it's like, I think like I said, we started late 2014, this thing took off so fast.
Yeah.
And you're just not equipped to deal with that when you're so young as a company. You're like, well, what do we do? We've never experienced a low spot. We've never experienced like just a level spot. This thing just took off immediately.
Yeah.
And you just, how do you deal with this? Well, then when you start dealing with things, COVID hit.
Yep.
The things started to kind of level off in the brewing industry. You're like, oh, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
And so I think that's what sort of sweeps you away when you kind of get caught up that early in the growth, that fast growth.
Yeah.
So,
well, we're going to take a break. Like I just said, I'm now staring at an empty glass.
You sure
are. When we come back, we're going to talk about the upcoming 10-year birthday party for Insight.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about, what's next for this brewery that continues to chug along and create some wonderfully delicious beers for people in Minnesota to enjoy. So you're listening to a One Pint Stand, and I'm here at Insight Brewing with Eric Schmidt. Cheers. Hey, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you are enjoying a One Pint Stand. My aim is to help spread the word about craft beer. Enjoying craft beer is a passion of mine, and I love chatting about it with other people. A One Pint Stand has a goal of helping breweries tell their stories. I love to get out in and beyond Minnesota to visit breweries, beer bars, and meet other interesting beer people. If you're also into those things, you'll probably want to keep tabs on the show. So go ahead and follow a One Pint Stand on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I also recently started a TikTok account because I was tired of Charles calling me a boomer for not having one. We would also appreciate any and all positive reviews on Spotify and Apple Music to help make it easier for other craft beer listeners to find us. If you want to be a supporter of the podcast with some of that extra change that you find in your couch cushions, I started a Patreon. There are 3 different monthly levels of support, which are priced at $1, $3, or $5 a month. And if you pledge at the $3 or $5 monthly level, you get some pretty cool perks. So go to patreon.com and search a One Pint Stand to check it out. Because of the nature of the podcast being about craft beer, we are listed in the 18 and up category, but that doesn't mean that there's anything other than beer talk happening. There's no feet pics. There's no links to OnlyFans because I'm more of an air conditioner guy. We are also up to 11 supporters, and I'm just really excited about what that means for the show. If you like reading about craft beer, check out my written work on a onepintstand.com. I love to write, and that's where you can find a lot of written content that covers both the local beer happenings in Minnesota and my craft beer travels all over the country. I'm slowly but surely putting up more articles from my travels that were previously posted on the other blog that I used to write for before I branched out on my own. I truly appreciate you listening and taking some time to enjoy our stories. Now, before we head back to the show, I want to talk about this episode's sponsor, Dual Citizen Brewing Company. Operating out of their Midway taproom for nearly 7 years, Dual Citizen has been serving an ever-changing and award-winning selection of lagers and ales. In addition to great beer, the taproom plays host to events and happenings for everyone, like their upcoming outdoor concert, Amplified Voices, a Get Out the Vote concert on Friday, October 25th from 6 to 10 p.m., with Derecho Rhythm Section,
a funk-infused project featuring Alan Sparhawk and Al Church. In addition to cold beer, there will be resources to help you find your polling place, food trucks, and more fun all night. A free concert where we crank participation up to 11. DCBC.com.
How about a beer?
Well, we're back here for the second half of my interview with Eric Schmidt, one of the owners at Insight Brewing. They are turning 10 in about a little over 2 weeks. What? I think one of the goofballs sitting over at the bar over there, Charles. Yeah, there's a few of them. He put a little, one of those like day, hour, second timers. I think we're 23 days away from November 2nd. And if we're wrong, it's because Charles can't fucking count. So
I think that might be wrong. I think we're 2 weeks from this Saturday. You know what? I think it is 23. It's 3 weeks from this Saturday.
Yeah. So that's very exciting. And this is our first al fresco podcast, outdoors, not naked. Not
okay.
That's,
okay.
So it's a wonderful night, and we're sitting here chatting with Eric, who's been, here from before they opened their doors. Mm-hmm. And so we're here for the second half. And now I always say the second half is where the hard-hitting questions come in. And usually somebody starts openly weeping. We kind of touched on this a little bit. And maybe you want to delve back in, or we can move on to the next thing. But, when you opened up Insight, that was kind of like... as you stated, kind of like the rocket ship was taking off.
Right.
And I remember going to some beer blogger and writers conferences where they would do a lot of data analysis of different markets in the country. And everybody, it was the usual suspects, the big craft beer cities, Burlington, breweries per capita and things like that. And then, the growth. They'd always show the growth charts. And the Twin Cities was always at this crazy, it wasn't a steady climb. It was
hockey stick.
Meteoric rise. Hockey stick, right.
Hockey stick, yep.
And that, owning a brewery back then, I'm sure on one side, from the dollars and cents side, of what you're selling, it's great. But what were some of the challenges of being in a beer scene where, it's growing so fast? What was that like?
Yeah, when it goes that quickly, and, all four of us that started the brewery, we were all brand new to this.
Yeah.
I mean, none of us had started a company. We, as a drinker in the community or a home brewer or whatever, you don't really see it from behind the scenes. You think you have an idea of what's going on, but until it becomes your livelihood, you really don't. So when you're seeing this, you I guess the reason I bring that up is because we had spent months and months and months planning. Who are we going to be? That included marketing, right?
Yeah.
What beers are we going to brew? And so you have this idea of what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Going in. You've got this 3 and 5 and 10 year plan. That's what you do. As a smart business owner, you have these plans. And, that they're going to change. It's not going to be exactly what it was when you did the original planning. But when it goes that quickly,
right.
You're like, what the hell, man? This thing just is on a trajectory that we were not ready for. So are these 5 beers that we opened with, are these the ones?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what's everybody else doing? Oh my God, are we on trend? Are we in a spot to catch this wave? And you just get caught up in it. So I would say the biggest challenge was just, what the hell do we do next?
Right.
We thought these 5 beers were going to get us through for a year or two. I mean, not just those 5. We would add to it. But no, this is going to be it. And you start to question, is this the right beer lineup? Mm-hmm. And so when it moves that quickly, you don't have a lot of time to react, and it's very easy to overreact. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Over-respond to what's going on out there. I'd say that's the biggest challenge when it moves that fast.
Well, and I have to imagine, too, it kind of feels like it artificially speeds time up. Because you're looking at things changing, we got to know. I know this plan was we had talked about this. We need to do it now. And I think that's probably part of that overreaction And then when you start thinking that way, then you get short-sighted. And then you know, that's where it's dangerous, I would imagine.
Yeah,
Thank God I just come in and drink this stuff. I don't
know,
need to
right?
plan.
What happens is you quickly forget, wait, we have a plan. We have a plan that we literally spent months and months and months developing. But when it's go time, and when now your world does not consist of just your brewery, it consists of everybody else going on out there.
Yeah.
It changes things really quickly.
So, you know, in 10 years, the landscape of the Minnesota craft beer scene, you know, the craft beer scene in the entire country has really changed. And obviously, you know, we had God willing, a once in a 100-year pandemic that happened in there. But like, you know, what's the biggest difference running a brewery in 2024 than running a brewery in 2014?
Oh, wow. You know, the way this thing has evolved, the way customers' tastes have changed.
Yeah.
You really have to diversify these days.
Yeah.
Beer alone, if you sunk a ton of money and resources into building a craft brewery, a lot of times right now beer isn't enough because you invest so much to ride that rocket ship when it's happening that you know, you have some debt, right? You have debt, you have a lot of equipment, you have all this stuff, and then eventually, you know, when things start to slow down with the beer industry, which it has, craft beer is starting to slow down. I think COVID was a weird way of just breaking people's routines. Yeah. Like maybe like, oh, well, what I would do on the weekends is I'd go out for a beer.
Yeah.
But when you can't do that, it disrupts that, and then you start to, oh, well, maybe I'll try something else. Yeah. And it has a weird way of just shifting things a little bit. And so I would say running a brewery in 2024, you really have to have an eye on diversification and doing multiple types of beverages and not just beer.
Yeah. How has THC changed? I know you mentioned that earlier as being kind of a bigger part of what you produce.
Right.
And obviously we see it all over the country right now. Is like people's drinking habits have changed. Or,
right.
This floors me because when I think about like where my drinking mindset was in my early to mid 20s, I was like, beer. Of course. And that's not the case anymore.
Right.
Thank goodness Minnesota is one of the more proactive and progressive states in the union when it comes to THC, and especially as it pertains to beverage. What have you seen with THC? How has it changed how you do business, and where do you think it can continue to go?
Yeah, so the really, really interesting thing about THC in Minnesota, specifically as it relates to breweries, is all of us are equipped to make beverages already. So as far as the THC seltzers are concerned, I've got everything I need in this brewery to immediately make THC seltzer. Yeah. It's just, it's such a natural progression. And I think the fact that the barrier to entry into that was so super low, and the fact that Minnesota allows us to make this stuff, I'm not super up to speed on how it works in other states, but from what I understand, I think while THC and marijuana has been legalized in plenty of other states, I don't think breweries are allowed to make THC-infused beverages in all these states. Right. Here, it was the Wild West immediately. Like, all of us can make it. Like, wait, this is fantastic because I'm ready to do that from day one. Yeah. I've got a canning line. I've got a thing that makes beverages. I've got all these procedures in place for sanitation and all this stuff. Right. I've got a canning line to package it and put a label on it and all this stuff. So I think the fact that the barrier to entry was so low was very significant, because as beer declines and as people start to look towards more NA stuff, not just THC, NA beer even, right? Right. it allowed us to get in there very, very quickly. And I think, at least in this market, the breweries already have a reputation for making high-quality beverages.
Yeah.
So there's already some brand recognition there that if you buy this, they're a recognized beverage brand. So you're not just going in starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Right? So we like most of the breweries created a separate brand because you don't want people to necessarily associate to connect the beer and the THC.
Right,
They need to be separate. They're very different. They deserve to be separated.
Yeah.
So we created the Flavor Pixels THC brand, and one of the things that we decided to do going into this thing that was a game changer for us going into this is we've had the capability to do 12 packs, like in 12-pack cartons, for several years now. And what we saw was there was a little bit of a gap in the market in terms of 12-pack THC.
Sure.
Probably because there is a higher price point. But we thought, well, if you make it enough of a value and people start to do the math on a price per milligram basis,
Sure.
it's a lot. You can get into that market, and we kind of filled that void, and that's been very successful for us. Is the 12 packs, and we actually just released 6-packs. So what we found was when we got into this was a lot of the breweries were doing the 4-pack 16-ounce cans, which is what we all do. It's what we've been doing with beer forever. But because of our ability to do the 12 packs, we thought, hey, you know what? Maybe this is our little way into the market, and it's been hugely successful for us. Thank God, because as beer has declined a little bit, this is a great way to fill the gap. And now we got the 6-packs coming, so we'll do 6 and 12 packs.
In talking to a lot of different breweries around the state, the THC has been a real lifeline. For sure. At a time when it was I mean, right on time.
Right on time
for a lot of places, and that's good, because I think, you know, a lot of us, like myself, just this is part of the fabric of this city. Mm-hmm. The craft breweries are, and it's important that, you know, with the pandemic, I think a lot of people also decided to kind of put their relationship with alcohol under a little bit of a microscope, and a lot of people decided that, you know, alcohol was not going to be the same at the level it was pre-pandemic, if at all. And it's nice to have options like hop water, THC, where people can still experience the culture of craft beverage. And widening that out, I think, is really important and very along the lines of inclusivity, which is very important. So I'm fascinated to see how that has really taken hold and kind of like really become something that I feel is going a long way in helping normalize that, to kind of demystify, almost demonize, if you will, that this is just another beverage. It's another experience, and obviously, you know, we still want people to enjoy it responsibly, but like understand that this allows a lot of people to still come into our space and enjoy themselves.
Absolutely.
And I think that's great.
Yeah.
I want to transition into the anniversary party.
Okay.
I've known this is coming. I mean, the trip around the sun parties are legendary in local Minnesota lore. It's always a great time. There's always great music, always great food, always great community.
Yeah.
As we come up on Saturday, November 2nd, 2024, for the 10th birthday party at Insight.
Wow.
How does that, you're smiling ear to ear right now.
You know, you get into this thing, and when you open up, you're like, I hope we make it to year 1.
Yeah.
I hope we make it to our first anniversary. And then you do, and you get there, and you're like, wow, if we make it to number 2, wow, the things we'll do. And we're looking at number 10. And I remember going to some other breweries' 10-year parties. I think I was at Fulton's 10-year.
Yep.
And you're just like, wow, I really hope someday we can find a way to get to 10. So the fact that that's flipping over to double digits, oh, my God. Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's very exciting.
I'm super excited for this one. We're going big. We're going big on this one.
So, why should people clear their social calendars for this event?
Yeah, so
I know and you know, but there's 12 other people listening that need this information.
There's at least 13 people listening.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right, so if you've ever been to a trip around the sun, and I would think that there's got to be a handful of your listeners.
It's a very hyper local podcast, so I would guarantee you at least quite a few have been here before.
And being around for 10 years, the people that listen to this are probably beer people. They've probably been to at least one trip around the sun at Insight in the past. So we always book really fun bands. We always have good food trucks, and we always have Gravity Well.
Yes.
Which is the Imperial Stout.
Yes.
So the things that we're doing this year to ramp things up a little bit is we've stepped up the game a little bit on the music we're bringing in. So we usually have 5 bands play throughout the day. We went with 4 bands playing slightly longer sets. And the mix of the music this year is pretty darn fun. We kick off the music itself kicks off at 2 p.m. And a 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. set from some shitty cover band. And if you're local, these guys are really, really popular. You might have seen them at the State Fair. I think they play Dino's, if I remember right.
Okay.
Really, really, really fun band. And the fact that they call themselves some shitty cover band, they have to be good.
I love that, yes.
If you're going to name yourself that, you have to be awesome.
You can't literally be shitty if you're going to call yourselves that. So
exactly
that's
right.
key.
So they're going to be from 2 to 4, which is awesome. And I have to spend a little bit of time talking about the 4:30 to 6 p.m. band, which is Pleaser.
Oh, yeah.
So see,
kind of a fixture.
There you go. You already know where I'm going with this. So here's the thing with Pleaser. Pleaser is, I think they refer to themselves as the world's preeminent Weezer tribute band or Earth's favorite Weezer tribute band, something like that. These guys are local guys who have played Weezer tunes. They actually turned 10 years old, I believe. I hope I'm not getting this wrong, but I believe they turned 10 years old.
It's an election year. We do not fact check, so don't worry about that.
Okay, so no fact checking. So no one out there fact check me. They're eating the dogs. I believe they turn 10 just next spring. So
that's
they're
awesome.
so they were really, really new. When they started, when they played our event, which is our first anniversary party, which is where I was getting to, which is Pleaser has played every single trip around the sun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think we might have been their second or third show ever. And they have become, we call them our house band. All the members of that band have become very good friends.
Yeah.
Very good friends of mine and very, very good friends of the brewery. And the crowds for them every year for the anniversary party is out of control. So I would say if you like Weezer tunes, hell, even if you don't like Weezer tunes, you'll like these guys. 4:30 to 6, they played every single one. I told those guys, you guys are going to have to play. I don't even care if you break up. You're playing every single one until we're all dead anyway.
That's right.
So after that, we have Hey Arlo, which is a great little project. They got some funky stuff. It's a really, really great show.
Yeah.
So we're proud to have them here. And the headliner from 8 to 10 p.m. is Nerdy.
Oh, that'll be good.
And everybody knows about Nerdy.
I love Nerdy.
They've exploded. They've exploded over the recent years. So we're really excited to have them headline. So we've stepped up the game with music. Food trucks, we have Angry Line Cook. If you're on like the burger Facebook guys, I mean Angry Line Cook.
I thought beer people was cutthroat.
Dude.
Then I joined the MSP Burgers Facebook group, and I'm like, wow,
MSP Burgers.
I need to.
They'll be here along with Cuchillo, which is like Mexican street food. So very, very different types of food. And then we have a pop-up Maker's Market tattoo pop-up, live screen printing T-shirts. But let's talk Gravity Well.
Yeah, because that when that first came out, I felt like at the time, if you were going to talk about a Imperial Stout in Minnesota, the conversation started and ended with darkness.
Absolutely.
And now, when that came on the scene, I'm like, okay, so if you don't want to chase a truck all over town or you don't want to go to Darkness Day, this is a really nice alternative that not many people are talking about and just really well made. Yep. Checked all the boxes of, at that time, what people really gravitated towards when it came to Imperial Stout. Roasty, chocolatey, nice mouthfeel, big alcohol. Like it had everything.
You bet.
It was the Sofia Vergara of Imperial Stouts.
There you go.
And as that beer kind of evolved and the following became greater, you started doing variants. I remember we used to, they'd invite beer media in to do like a insight barrel tour. And one year we were pulling nails. There was a wall of barrels, some scotch, some bourbon, some different things. There were some double barreled versions. And so every year it has kind of grown and grown and grown and grown. So tell me about what those of us fans of this Gravity Well kind of subculture can look forward to this year.
I'm actually really, really excited to say that we're going back to our roots.
Okay.
The very first year, the very first anniversary party, we had one Gravity Well. It was a double barrel aged Imperial Stout.
Oh, I remember.
No adjuncts, no nothing, just a straight up barrel aged Imperial
That's going to be
Stout.
wonderful.
And so throughout the years, like you mentioned, we've experimented with different barrels. We've experimented with fruit, and tobacco made its way into one of these things. And we've done all these things. And as we move into the 10th anniversary, and we're going to talk about some other 5 beers that will be on tap. We'll get into that in a second. This year is about going back to our roots. So you know what's going to be on tap for Gravity Well this year? One double barrel aged Imperial Stout.
Music to my ears.
No adjuncts, no fruit.
Sometimes
just
less is more.
Exactly. So this is going to be a 2-year barrel aged Imperial Stout, double barrel aged. Can't remember. Let's see. I think the barrels are Heaven Hill and Elijah Craig. I can't remember. But I hope I'm right on that.
I love it when they talk dirty to me on the podcast.
I know, but you know what? We are really. It's going to be one variant. We're going to have 500 bottles. They're going to be numbered.
Okay.
And that's it.
Nice.
So we're going back to our roots. Like I said, you remember how I said we're finding ourselves? We're like, you know what? That was arguably the best Gravity Well we ever put out. Was that very first one, that double barrel aged? That's where we're going. I've had a taste. You are definitely going to want to taste this.
Well, we were talking earlier when I showed up. We were talking about like people. You were saying, and this was a great observation about, I think, human nature in general, but also specific towards craft beer enthusiasts. People want what they can't have. You know, you talk about you take a beer off, and that's when people start asking for it.
Yep, that's
you know.
exactly
So
right.
this idea of like creating this, you know, almost like, you know, we take things for granted, and then when it goes away, like what? Wait now, what? When are you going to brew that again? I was like, well, you didn't. 2 weeks ago, it was on tap. Why weren't you here then?
That's right.
So kind of an exciting.
It's human
thing.
nature.
Yeah. That's really that's fun. I'm excited. And so how do people go about buying bottles? Or will there be a reservation process?
There will be.
Will you auction it off in the town square? How's that going to work?
You just got to show up.
Okay.
Get in line, and wherever your spot in line is, they're going to determine who gets it.
Okay.
That's it. We're not doing any pre-sales. We're not doing any of that stuff. It's just show up for the party. If you want one of the 500 bottles, I'd probably get here early.
Yeah.
I mean, it will be on tap.
Okay.
So if you don't get a bottle,
so
you'll definitely
that was
get
going to
to
be my
taste it.
next question, because oftentimes, like sometimes you show up for a bottle release, and if you don't get it, Dangerous Man will always like do it when they would used to release their special bottles. And they're like, oh, you can try it on tap too if you don't get a bottle. So that's a nice consolation prize, you know. You don't have to deal with FOMO if you don't get it. But so that's exciting. Gravity Well is such a good beer, and it represents so much of the excitement, that special release. People still go gaga for that. As much as people's habits have changed, there's a lot of just core beer nerds out there who just love a well-made Imperial Stout.
We're going back to the roots.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, should we talk about?
I'm gonna let me put my seatbelt on.
Okay. All right.
When I saw the social media announcement, I glossed over it, and then when I looked back, I'm like, oh wait, there's something really special happening here with the tap list. Tell me about that.
Okay, so very, very similar to going back to our roots with Gravity Well, just a double barrel aged regular Imperial Stout. I say regular, but it's not so regular. It's
No, there's
pretty
nothing
special,
regular about it.
but as in no adjuncts or any of that stuff. When we opened the brewery on day one, on November 21st, 2014, we had 5 beers. It was Trollway American IPA. Actually, they had different names back then, so I'll say both names. Trollway American IPA, which was then known as Curiosity IPA.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
We had the Devil's Companion London-style porter, which was called Chiswick Porter. We had Hell Chicken, Yuzu Pale Ale.
Yep.
And that was just called Yuzu Pale Ale.
Yeah.
We had Sunken City,
Yep.
which was a Saison with Sauv Blanc grapes, and that was called Saison de Blanc. And we had a beer called Lambton Dragon, which at the time was... What was that called?
I was trying to... I was trying to rack my brain.
Lamb and Flag.
Yes, that's
Lamb
right.
and Flag, which is an English special bitter, extra special bitter. And those were the 5 beers. Very, very
Lamb
diverse.
and Flag. Oh, my gosh.
Lamb and Flag.
I was going nuts today trying to think of that. I was trying to look on Untapped. I was like, what was this originally? I could not find that. Lamb and Flag. That's
Lamb
right.
and Flag.
Okay. Yeah.
So those were the original 5 beers. Since then, we've made, oh my God, hundreds of beers over all these 10 years. We have a small 5-barrel test batch system that we use to experiment with stuff.
Okay.
And in that system, we put all 5 of these beers.
Excellent.
So Trollway, as always, is the only beer that we made since day one that is still around.
Yeah.
Sunken City we made this year as a seasonal.
Right.
And so we still have some of that left. So that's going to be on tap. But the other 3, Lamb and Flag, Lambton Dragon,
Yeah.
Chiswick Porter, Devil's Companion, and Yuzu Pale Ale, Hell Chicken. All 3 of those went into our small batch system, and all 5 will be available.
Okay, that's exciting. Because
On
I
tap.
remember, I want to say it was when the Super Bowl was in town. You did a small batch run of Lambton Dragon, and I came
Yes,
in
we
and
did.
drank the hell out of that.
Yes, we did.
And I'm like, hey, does this mean it's back? And you're like, no, somebody wanted it on tap for a party. And I'm like,
Yep.
but added that to the list of reasons I cry myself to sleep. I'm very excited about that coming back because it's such a good beer. And I feel like right now, those styles of beers have a little bit more staying power than they did back in the day. Obviously, like we were talking, extra special bitter. It's that bitter word that turns people off. If
Yeah.
we could just have some, I don't know, maybe the president or somebody comes on national television and just tells everybody that in that instance, bitter doesn't mean bitter.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's very exciting. Yeah. So Lambton Dragon, I feel like if people just rebranded it as a pub ale, it would sell like hotcakes because the idea of drinking beer in a pub is so iconic and so many people have like a positive reference point for that, or so they think. But like, yeah, bitter. I'm like, why did they have to call it that?
It's just not that bitter. Pub ale is actually a really, really great description of that beer.
Well, if you
like it
promise
better.
to brew 5 barrels of that once a year, you can have that idea because
I'm taking it anyway.
that would be good. Yes, right. Okay, so So we're bringing back, kind of getting the band back together.
You bet.
The 5 original beers that you started with. I really like that idea. I think it's a nice callback to the history of this place. And also, people are going to be really excited that they get to try these beers again. Because as you said, aside from Sunken City and Curiosity IPA, which morphed into Trollway,
Yeah.
those beers have been gone a long while.
Yeah.
And that's really exciting. Talking about, people want what they can't have. There's going to be some very excited people here
I think so.
for the party.
I think so.
What else is in store? We've got the Double Barrel Gravity Well, the 5 original beers coming back. Mm-hmm. Did you get a key to the city? Is the mayor of Minneapolis going to be proclaiming it Insight Day?
Oh God, I wish. No, that as far as I know, that is not happening. What is funny about that though is our city councilman at the time in 2014, he was here when we opened on our
nice.
grand opening. So it's funny that you say, "Did you get a key to the city?" Well, no, but 10 years ago, our city council member was here. No, but yeah, we've just we're trying to load it up with as much fun stuff for people.
Yeah.
If you've been to our last few events, we did Dogtoberfest, which was a hot dog kind of festival. Yeah. This last month, we did we call it Wort Tour instead of Warped Tour.
Yeah.
Where we had skateboarding stuff going on. And then we did May the 4th Be With You.
Yes.
It was a collab with Dangerous Man, because Dangerous Man used to do that at the Northeast location.
Yep.
And we said, well, you don't have the Northeast location anymore. You want to do it? You want to kind of pop up at our place and collab with that? So at each of those events, we had one of our regulars here actually runs a T-shirt screen printing company. And so he's been doing live on-site screen printing. So we're going to be doing that, having some cool T-shirts. There's going to be a maker's market. There'll be a tattoo pop-up. If you're feeling adventurous and looking to get a tattoo,
you want to get the updated logo on the other side of your face,
or the old logo, whatever,
or the old,
hey. Or get another one of the old logo,
right?
So, but you don't have to get obviously an Insight logo, but there'll be other stuff. Yeah, so it's just trying to make it it's a birthday party.
Yeah,
it's a birthday party.
That'll be fantastic. And I'm glad you mentioned Dangerous Man, because obviously I think we all know that, like, you don't get to doing 10 years of anything on your own. And as you've kind of set down roots in this industry and become what you are, you establish relationships. Who are some breweries that you have worked with over the years? Maybe they helped you. Maybe you helped them. Who are the friends you like to play with in the sandbox and kind of where if somebody calls you and like, hey, we're thinking of a collab, you're like, absolutely. I don't even need to hear the idea.
Yeah,
we're doing it. Who are some of your friends in the industry that you want to give a shout out to?
Oh wow, there's a lot of breweries, right? Yeah. There's a lot of breweries.
This is why I asked the tough questions.
Yeah, right. There's two in particular that pop out, and that is Falling Knife and Ven.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a few reasons. I've gotten to know the guys at both of those spots pretty well.
Yeah.
And so they're just great guys and great beer ambassadors for this industry. They're just... These are the guys you hope are running the breweries in town, because they're going to be the ones that help, rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
Together, we kind of all need to be in this together to get everybody coming, beer's on the decline. We're going to bring these people back to beer eventually.
Right.
Beer has been through this before. And so, just kind of getting to know those guys, but also it's those guys in particular. I bring them up because when they opened up, both of those places, connected with us in some shape or form.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like, oh, we're looking for a lot of help, because both those guys, both the guys at both those places, no, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
But you have questions and you're kind of curious about what's going on, and so. We kind of connected with both of them early on, but the reason I bring both of them up is even though we opened up before them, things kind of came back around, and they have helped us. Just because we've got a couple of years on those guys in terms of just opening up before they did, it doesn't mean things can't come around and they don't have a few things to share with us.
Right.
We've collabed with both of those breweries. They're just their staffs know our staff. It's become a really cool thing. So I think those two in particular. I also do want to shout out Arbiter. You'd mentioned Alla Nostra.
Yeah.
That was one of the more fun collabs because they actually wanted to collab on the artwork for the label. So a lot of times, whoever's brewing the beer is kind of responsible for making the label, because it's going to be your name on the label. And so usually the collabing brewery is like, hey, you know what? Go ahead. It's your brand. Run with it. Show us what you got. Just so, if you're going to put our name on it, that's a collab. We just want to see it and make sure everything's on the up and up. But for the most part, they're like, hey, just take it and run with it. Arbiter said, no, we'd like to collab on the artwork.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Not surprising. I mean,
not
Arbiter,
surprising at all.
Great people, salt of the earth people.
Yeah.
Like, A lot of good creative energy over there.
Yeah, so I happened to be the lucky one that at the time was working with Brad Randall, who I mentioned earlier, who was doing our labels. And I had a good idea of our aesthetic and our, look and feel, which it had to be Insight's look and feel. But I was lucky enough to get the chance to work with them on the label, and they actually came up with the 2 Greyhounds, Italian Greyhounds, riding the Vespa scooter, because they had seen some of our stuff and like, I see what you do. You take real life things and put them in weird situations. And so together we came up with that label, and they were the ones that really wanted to partner on the artistic aspect of the artwork, which was particularly fun.
A true collaboration.
It was a true collaboration, and then the beer just turned out awesome.
Yeah. Oh, I think a big chunk of my initial Insight Passport Club investment went to that beer. That beer was so good.
It was. There are others, I'm sure, but for the sake of keeping this under control in terms of length, I'll stick with Ven, Falling Knife, and an Arbiter.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, we're kind of getting to the end of it, and as we wrap up, I would just like to say that 10 years ago, I got a handful of people together to get into the Passport Club. We were into craft beer. We didn't know. I'll speak for myself. I didn't know much about it, but I knew what good beer tasted like, and it was really exciting to see that a brewery was opening up that was like on my way home, and there was such an energy behind it, and we became members of that club, and I thought that was really fun. Like back in the day when you'd walk in and see your name on a piece of wood carved on the brewery wall, that was really, really cool. And now to be sitting here talking to you about celebrating 10 years is just really special and really exciting, and I want to congratulate you on a major milestone. I mean, 10 years doing anything in any industry is special, but in the craft beer industry, where it is so cutthroat and so difficult, especially over the last couple of years with all the changing dynamics and things like that, the fact that you will be having a blowout on November 2nd to celebrate 10 years is very exciting. I want to ask you one final question.
Okay.
What are you most proud of?
Oh, geez. What am I most... 10 years, Dan. Geez, you want me to pick one? All right.
That's the
way
the
it
only
goes,
option.
I guess, right?
If you don't, I'm going to pee in the corner in the garage because the door's open.
I'll show you where Frank... Oh, no, it wasn't Frank. Sorry. It wasn't Frank. Never mind. Forget I said that. Wow. You know what? Yeah, I remember at the beginning of this podcast, you asked me, like, how did I get into this thing in the first place?
Yeah.
And the community and culture really is what drew me into this thing. And when I think about what that means, it's really about the people. Because I did, like I said, before I did this, I worked in corporate America, which, the place I worked at, they were great to me, right? But it's a gigantic company, and there's a little bit of you're kind of a name and a number, a little bit. It's kind of hard to avoid that. And so what it comes down to is, when I think about it, this thing really is about the people. Yeah. And I would say, we also talked about we're pretty sticky these days in terms of the employees. I can't speak for the employees. I'm just basically going off the fact that we've retained basically everybody pretty much since COVID. I think we've done a lot. We've worked really hard to create a great place to work.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what I'm most proud of, because from what I gather from the employees, they just really like being here and working here. And the reason I'm proud of that is doesn't just extend to our employees. When they're happy and feeling good about the family that we have here, it extends to the customers. Yeah. You said you've gotten to know the people that work here.
Yeah.
They're now going to pass that on to everybody that comes through these doors, which is what it's all about. So that when I talk about the people, it's the employees, it's our customers, that's what it comes down to, people. That's what I'm proud of.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah.
It's all over your face. That smile, and that really makes me happy, because at the end of the day, that's craft beer is about community, and you've created a wonderful community here. So I want to thank you again for sitting down. Mm-hmm. For those of you listening, put Saturday, November 2nd, 2024 on your calendars for what promises to be a hell of a good time here at Insight Brewing. And I want to thank you for having me in
I appreciate it, Dan.
talking beer with me. Let's do this again sometime. This was fun.
Anytime.
So this has been another on-location episode of a One Pint Stand here at Insight Brewing. Cheers.
Cheers, Dan.
I love nostalgia as much as anyone. In fact, I recently rewatched the entire series of The Sopranos. And there's an episode where Tony says, "Remember when is the lowest form of conversation." Well, that's one thing that I absolutely disagree with. Hearing Eric recall and remember different things that have happened at Insight over the years was truly enlightening. He's been there for the entire ride, and I'm glad that he was willing to sit down and tell so many wonderful stories. Insight has been a stalwart of the Northeast Minneapolis craft beer scene for almost a decade. That's an impressive feat when you consider all the challenges of running a small business, much less a brewery. Earlier in the episode, I mentioned that a One Pint Stand started a Patreon. Well, one of the perks of being a keg stander level supporter is a personal thanks to those who became members. So I want to give a huge thank you from the bottom of my glass and heart to our now 7 awesome keg stander supporters: Chuck Dorsey, Daniel Fisher, Todd Fitzloff, Cable Lefto, he's our newest one, Brent Newman, Bree Smith, and Sarah Cry Valento for being keg stander level supporters of a One Pint Stand's Patreon. You have all shown incredible generosity, and I'm grateful for it. Cheers to you 7. So make sure to put Saturday, November 2nd on your calendar because it promises to be a rocking good time. Between the return of their original 5 beers, Gravity Well, and the music, I'm sure that there are going to be lots of laughs and smiles. I know I will definitely be reacquainting myself with the Lambton Dragon in a possibly biblical way. Now, before I sign off, I want to give a huge thanks again to the sponsor for this episode, Dual Citizen Brewing Company. For nearly 7 years, Dual Citizen has proudly served the Minneapolis and St. Paul communities with both cold, fresh beer and event programming for everyone. To stay up to date with all the latest offerings and happenings at the taproom and beyond, visit dcbc.com. With that, this has been another episode of a One Pint Stand, a Minnesota craft beer podcast where the pants stay on, but the caps come off. Cheers.
The 10-year birthday party is happening Saturday, November 2nd.
Yes, it is. Double digits.
Double digits, right?
Yeah.
Yes. We're going to have that puberty talk later on in the show.
Oh,
and
boy. We'll take that one offline.
That'll be right. Exactly. I did bring some visuals. So.